How are y'all doing, everybody? It's Nash here, and I'm here to talk Texas football with y'all today. Today, I'm going to be getting into how close was Texas to succeeding from 2014 to 2020 under Charlie Strong and Tom Herman. Why I think Steve Sarkisian is going to have success in his first year, and how much talent does Texas really have compared to schools like Alabama, Iowa State, and TCU. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. We're going to look at Charlie Strong and Tom Herman, trying to determine how successful they were in their seasons here at Texas. Let's start off with Charlie Strong. You'll see these red shaded and blue shaded games. Blue shaded means it was a fringe game, so fringe meaning it was a one possession ball game that we lost, and a red shaded games means two or more possessions. So we'll call those for sure losses. Charlie Strong's first year, he had 7 total losses. 5 of them were for sure. 2 were fringe. His second year, he had 7 total losses again. Improved on the giant air quotes with the losses. With four losses for sure and 3 fringe. Sorry, just crack myself up thinking about how you can actually improve on a loss. 7 losses again in year 3, 2 for sure, and 5 fringe. The bottom of the line is 7 losses is just not going to get the job done here at Texas. And there's just nothing else to say on that. Tom Herman, going to him. 1 for sure loss his first year, 5 fringe losses. So looks like he's improving a little bit. And actually, the actual improvement, there's 1 less loss. Then you see more improvement. So for somebody like me who was really not on board with Tom Herman getting hired, I remember when Charlie Strong first got fired, I remember my grandpa came in and told me, "Hey, you hear the news?" And I had known where it was going from the night before and reading the boards, and I didn't like it. I thought we were headed for a bad period, and clearly we were. But I changed course after the 2018 season, and we won that Sugar Bowl against Georgia. I fell in love with that shiny piece of fool's gold that was being dangled right in front of me. But so speaking of the 2018 year against Georgia, or we cap it off on a win against Georgia, 1 for sure loss, 3 fringe losses. Then you go the next year, we actually looked like we go down. And we do. 5 total losses, 3 are fringe, 2 are for sure. I hate to go Aggie right here, and I'm doing it to prove a point about Texas, about the Texas teams from 2014 to 2020. So I'm not saying, oh, look at how good we were because we played against the national championship toe-to-toe. I'm saying, how in the hell does the same team that plays toe-to-toe against the national champion, and this team for the most part is the same team, be the team that A, loses to Maryland, and be the team that B, loses to TCU? It doesn't it does make sense, and what happens is we're playing down to the level of our opponents. So if you were to look at a graph, I'm not a bar graph, a little line graph, line chart. It would look like a mountain top, just going up and down and up and down. It looked like stocks. We're playing up and down to the level of our opponents. Some days we play up, LSU. Some days we play down, TCU. 2020, no for sure losses, 3 fringe losses. So this team was legit a handful of plays away from being a college football playoff appearance. Uh, or not? No, well, no. Let's not say that. Let's not say that. This team was 3 plays away. Was a handful of plays away from having a shot at a college football playoff appearance. Had we gone to the Big 12 championship and won, hey, it's an undefeated Power 5 conference team. You can't leave them out, and especially with this new format that's coming in. But and the bottom line is we lost 3 games. You can say shoulda, coulda, woulda all you want. It's not going to change anything. But so that's the success level of Tom Herman and Charlie Strong at Texas. So now we're going to get into the talent level between Texas and schools like Alabama, TCU, and Iowa State. All right. So people want to understand why Steve Sarkisian chose Texas. He chose Texas. He said it all. Dude sounds like a broken recorder when he goes up on these press conferences. He says it to every single person the same thing, and it's true. Talent on the roster, resources, brand name. I mean, it's the University of Texas. When Texas gets rolling, I literally don't have anything else to say than it's Texas. I shouldn't have to say anything, and if I do, man, maybe we need to do some college football history on this channel. So let's go into the talent. I mean, Alabama, their top 3 skill position players, talent-wise, are all running backs. Trey Sanders, Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams. And as of right now, some of these players may have transferred, or may not even be on, or I don't know. They just may or may not be on the roster. When I did this data pool, it was when Steve Sarkisian was hired here. So the point of this still stands as it may not be the roster that we have here now. And it is the roster that we have here now. I have it updated. But it shows for the most part what he saw and why he came for what he saw. So let's get into this. Alabama, the top 3 is running backs. Next guy up in talent, and this is talent, so talent does not mean everything, is tight end. Then you got a wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, 4-star, tight end, wide receiver. All these are 4 stars, by the way. Wide receiver, and tight ends. The average returning rating, and this is from 24/7, is 0.9352 rating. Texas' average rating is 0.9379. That's 0.0027 better than Alabama. And I don't think a lot of people would have even guessed that Texas could even be in the same breath, talent-wise, as Alabama. And if you look at the dudes that make up our average rankings, I mean, Bijan Robinson, stud. Jordan Whittington, 5-star, stud. Joshua Moore, I mean, if this dude can bring it together, stud. Alvonte Woodard, same thing, stud. Market, stud. I mean, studs all around. Roshan Johnson, Troy O'Meary, new guy, Keelan Robinson. I mean, we got legit weapons on this team. And I'm really excited to see, A, which ones separate themselves, and B, which ones get used. Because we can really see it start to go downhill with the recruiting, and this is why we made the change when we did, is look at the recruiting that Alabama has coming in. I mean, 9.8 or 0.98, 0.98, 0.97, 0.97, 0.96. Our best is 0.99. Jatavion Sanders, that dude's a stud. But 0.89, 0.89. I mean, Jaden Alexis and Jonathan Brooks are studs. Do not get me wrong. But there were a lot of other studs in this class that should be in the class. And they aren't. And why is that? Close losses. All right, let's get into Steve Sarkisian and why I'm confident he's going to be a successful head coach here at Texas. And let's remember, successful is a 10-win season. So I'm going to say this once and one time only. I'm going to acknowledge his past. I'm not going to really, I don't really ever plan or think I shouldn't ever need to do it here again on this channel. But it is worth acknowledging he went to University of Washington, accepted a job at USC, and then had his issues. Why it's worth noting is he knows what's on the line with this shot. And it's not so much that his past, the alcohol issues, has anything to do with it. It's the fact that he was once a head coach and had to step away. And for a guy that's had a shot at coaching in a program like USC, granted it was rehabilitating the program back from the postseason bans and the recruiting bans that they had gotten from the NCAA. I mean, you don't get many opportunities to coach at big schools. And I honestly believe if Texas was not the right opportunity, we would not have Steve Sarkisian as our head coach. It is very important to remember he chose us. He's the one that picked us. We happened to be in need of a head coach. We went to him. He said yes. And I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the Augie Garrido coming to Texas, because Augie wanted to come and have a challenge. He wanted a challenge. And I don't think Steve Sarkisian is coming to Texas saying, I want a challenge. But I think he's welcoming the challenge that it is at Texas. He knows the boosters are there. He's mentioned it in every press conference. He sounds like a broken recorder. The talent on roster, the athletic department, the money, the funds, everything, the brand, the fans, the legacy. I mean, this is a place where he can come, and if he's successful, he can coach for 15 to 20 years and put his name on the wall. So there's a lot to be had with this opportunity, but there's also a lot to lose. This could be, if he fails here, this could be his last legit shot at having this is definitely his last shot at having a tenure chance at a university. And I say tenure in terms of like a Nick Saban or a Mac Brown. So I mean, there's a lot riding on the line, because if he's not successful in his first year, this recruiting is going off a cliff, and it's going off a cliff hard. Because I can tell you right now, these kids are not going to sit here and keep falling for the same old, it was a close loss, but we're gonna button that up next year. No, they're just not going to. Why would they? What's going to make it different? And also, Steve Sarkisian, Coach Flood, and Banks, our tight end coach, 12 months ago were negatively recruiting against Texas. So they can't just throw on a a little mask, if you will, right? And act like, "Oh, no, I was just lying to you." You know? Well, because now, well, if you were lying then, well, you're lying now. And what I like to think about it is I like to think about it in terms of like you got a car, okay? They can't just come over here and throw a fresh coat of paint on the car that they've been telling recruits is a shitty car. No. They got to throw a fresh coat of paint on it. They got to redo the engine inside. They got to redo the interior, and then they got to drive it. They got to show the recruits, "Hey, look at what we did to this car. Look at the car now." I mean, I do not see why Steve Sarkisian would take this job if he even entertained it in his mind that he was going to fail here. And from what I'm hearing, or from what I'm not hearing, from what I'm reading from people, this dude's an alpha, and he's about winning. And he comes from Saban and Carroll, guys that focus immensely on the details, the tiny things, because they know it is the little things that matter the most. It is the most cliche thing in the world to say, but it is so true. And that's why I think Steve Sarkisian is going to do good in his first year at Texas. And a disclaimer, it's also why I bet $100 with my buddy that Texas would make a college football playoff berth. And I'm going to explain that on two things. This team is talented. It had a legit shot last year and the year before, as far as talent-wise, being a national championship contender. I think with the right coaching, if the little things get done, if Steve Sarkisian is who we think he is, this team will do it. This team will make it through the season, get to the conference championship, and with a little luck, make a college football playoff appearance. I appreciate you for tuning in. If you made it to this point in the video, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great day, y'all. Peace. Whoa, 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 whoa. But there's more. I have to add something. Because I know already a lot of people are type about, well, Sam Ehlinger's gone. Well, I'm gonna advocate for Tom Herman here a little bit. Look at Ohio State whenever they lost Braxton Miller. Then they lost J.T. Barrett. Cardell Jones, the third string, held down the fort. And it's a common theme with where Herman's been. Backup quarterbacks are ready. Look at Casey Thompson when he stepped in the Colorado Bowl. And people love to forget that Colorado was stymieing Texas and Ehlinger at that point. But Casey Thompson came in and just shut them down. So, I'm very excited. I think whoever wins out this quarterback battle and starts for us is going to be a very good quarterback. But I hope the other one stays because, man, if they do, we got a two-headed monster. The next guy coming in is going to be just as good as the first guy. Who knows, maybe even better. All right, this is now the end. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good one.